Welcome to AuthentiCity FM, where local government leadership takes center stage and a little Midwestern rivalry is going to keep some things interesting. I'm Corey Spiegel, and I am delighted to be joined by my ever-inspiring co-hosts, Mike Sable and Phil Corrali. Today, we are excited to welcome Victor Cardenas, City Manager of Novi, Michigan, and fellow ICMA Midwest Region Vice President Alumni to the show. Stick around as we share real stories, tackle the challenges and wins that shape our communities, and explore what authentic leadership looks like in the Midwest and beyond. Victor, welcome to the show. To kick things off, what drew you to local government and city management in the first place?
Thank you, Corey. Thank you for the invite. Very honored to be a guest on this fantastic, well-liked show. So I started off with the ambition of serving in some kind of legislature, either the U.S. Congress or state legislature here in the beautiful state capital of Michigan, which is Lansing. And then my last year in college, my hometown city manager said, "Hey, why don't you come here and do a internship for my poli-sci degree?" And so I said, "Sure, that sounds great." And I was hooked after that. His name was Mark Wanweber. He's a fantastic, also of ICMA board alumnus, and he really showed me the way of the right way of local government is the where you want to be. So I saw the fruits of my labor firsthand, and I was hooked from there on. Got my master's degree at Indiana after that, and I've been in local government ever since.
Okay, so Corey, you are such a professional. You come prepared. How is not your first question? What are you wearing?
What are you talking about?
Say more. It's an interesting choice. Say more, please.
Well, obviously, it's the NFC North episode, so I want to make sure the whole lion get-up is going on. So this is not going to last long. I was a theater guy in high school, but I cannot keep this going on for much longer. I'm falling apart as we speak.
Well, I was a little stunned. Theater?
In high school, yeah, I was in some plays. I would, thinking about the plays I was in, and then your parents would go there and watch you in multiple shows. And then after I think about that as being a parent now, I'm like, oh my God, they spent hours watching not the greatest performance. It was terrible, and I was not a good actor. So I was like, and then friends came, aunts and uncles came, and I'm like, they paid money to see whatever that was. And I have so much more respect for them doing that.
So for us non-Michiganders, explain what is going on with your outfit.
Well, obviously, we have a football team in Detroit called the Lions. So I've put on the obviously the traditional Lion apparel that we go to all games like. So we not really know. This is just for you guys. So
you should though, because you look great in it. It suits you.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. So, in Chicago, you guys sing this. I call it a dumb song when you guys score a touchdown. Bear down, Chicago Bears. And mind you, my in-laws are all Bears fans. And once we moved to the new stadium in Detroit, the Lions have this also annoying song. And I every time I think of we score a touchdown, I just think of the bear down, Chicago Bears, and then we have Go Lions. It's equally as bad.
Well, over the years, we haven't had the opportunity to sing those songs very much, although you've been in a situation lately where that's resolving somewhat. But yeah, Bear Down Chicago Bears is an excellent piece for stadium singing. I just want to point that out.
And we can all agree that all of our songs are better than any Packer song that gets played.
What is a Packer song?
I mean, does there need to be a song? I feel like
what about
Go and beer and cheese covering
and Go Pack Go?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Every 11 seconds.
Every 11 seconds. Yeah.
Well, you got to stay warm somehow.
Well, it's either that or you guys have to
good.
Stay awake from all of the tailgating beforehand. So it's
This is all true. This is all true.
It's not a bad idea. Not bad things. No.
Yeah, so being a lifelong Lions fan, we and all of us in Detroit, we don't really know how to deal with victory. So these last couple of years, we're like, okay, this is great, but the end is coming at some point. So obviously, the NFC Championship year before last, and last year losing to the the Commanders. So and now losing our offensive coordinator to the Bears. So we'll see what happens this year. But I look forward to talking about that more later in the show.
Very good. That was good.
I try. Bury the lead.
Mike, you usually have the second question when we
So
start these interviews.
Well, I got to say, so I got sidetracked by the costume, but Victor, you do have a pretty remarkable career in Michigan. So you got your start with Mark Wollenweber. You fell in love with it. Where did you go next? And then like give us a little bit of the 30-second sort of history in Michigan.
30 seconds. Actually, I kind of lied a little bit. I wasn't local government the whole time. When I got out of college, I couldn't find a job real quick. I applied for everywhere in local government, but I ended up in after grad school, I was in higher ed for a little bit. I was at Miami of Ohio for a brief period of time as a hall director. That's what I did. That's what paid for grad school was being in residence life. So when I was in grad school, I was interning with the city of Indianapolis with a unified government for city and county Indianapolis, Marion County. Got my first job at the city of Oak Park, and I am part of a proud alumni of Oak Park, assistant to city managers, Bob Bruner, who was before me, Karen Pincus before that, Crystal McLean after me. So, and there's been Mike Overton before that. There's been a long line of us that have gone out into the world after Oak Park. I served as a village manager in Brooklyn after Oak Park for a few years. So I was bouncing around a lot for a few years. And then I got the great opportunity to come to Novi and work for the esteemed and famous Clay Pearson. And I was like, again, we'll see how long I'm here for. And then 15 years later, I'm now the manager, and my two of my kids have been born here. Made a life here. Been a homeowner now for about 5 years. It's been great. So that's the 30-second tour of Victor's life in local government for the last it's been over 20 years now, which is crazy to think about.
Great 30 seconds. So question for you. You were, as I was looking back, and you got your whole career history right, which is great because I wrote it all down here on my notes, my trusty handy dandy notes. But I'm curious. So you were in Oak Park. Oak Park's a medium-sized community, assistant there. That's great. And then you decide you're going to be a village manager in a small community. You're a pretty young guy. It's not immediately close by. What was that transition like for you to kind of step into the big chair in a small place?
You know, you never realize how much that change is going to happen. So yeah, you're right. Medium-sized community. We had departments. We had department heads. You know, pretty good size public safety department, finance director, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm going to a small village where I'm the person, and we have like a couple staff members in the office. We got a DPW, and that's it. And I remember this one person called me one time, and they're like, "Hey, I want to put a fence up," and I'm like, "It's great, you know, have at it." And then I was like, "Oh my God, I'm the zoning administrator, I'm the planner, I'm everything." I'm like, holy crap. And this is kind of, you know, before we have a pretty robust listserv here in Michigan. So, you know, there's a lot of other managers across the state that post a lot of stuff. So I'm relying on that, you know, and that's really where I really appreciated the network that you start building when you get into the profession, and leaning on those people that you worked with in other communities or you met throughout the time. Because I'm like, what do I do? Where do I start looking and start, the ordinances are there. Then you start reading all the ordinances and setbacks. And I'm like, and then try to put a budget together. So yeah, it was tough. And then you really learn quickly how to deal with councils and deal with, the county and the township. So it was baptism by fire, drinking out of a fire hose, all those sayings all at once. So it was, and you know what? I just got reminded about this. In small towns, the barber is the key of the holder of all the information. I come from a big city. It's like, all right, whatever. You got all these kind of, big property owners. But when you go to a small town, you got to make friends with the barber, because the barber has all the connections.
And you have to watch where, if it's the local diner or it's the coffee shop or whatever it is. The thing that I've learned, so the community I'm in is a little larger than Brooklyn was, but you have to figure out who you're sitting next to real quick, because you suddenly find out that the conversation you're having is about that person sitting next to you's father-in-law or a best friend from high school, and now all of that information finds its way back to those folks. It is a small town living is a unique environment.
Just the when you go grocery shopping is also huge, because if you go grocery shopping at a different time, it's going to be like an hour or two affair, because everyone's going to stop you and say, "Hey, I got a question about X, Y, or Z," and you're just like, "All right." And then you go down to the deli aisle. "Oh, hey, Jim, how's it going?" And then you get that question. So it's a thing. You learn all those lessons pretty quickly.
The thing that I found with it, though, is that you immediately get a pulse on the community. I think sometimes in a larger space, it's easy to be, sucked into to office life. You're talking to the department directors, you're talking to other staff, and everything's kind of filtered through them. In a small town, you don't have the ability to kind of hide. You're always there, and so that pulse is cool. But it doesn't go away, and so you're always with it. That's been my experience. I'm guessing you had somewhat of a similar one.
Yeah, and especially how our office was designed, it was like an old bank. So when you would walk in the front door and you would meet someone at the counter, you could definitely see my office with the window open. I mean, I think there might have been shades, I forget, but I mean, they can tell if your light's on. Like, is Victor here? Like, I can't like duck under the desk quick enough, so they know you're there, and then you have to talk to him no matter what. You just can't say, tell him I'm not here today, or I'm in a meeting, or I'm on a call. They say, oh, he's right there, I can see him, and then you walk to the front and you have that conversation that maybe you didn't want to have that day, but you're definitely having it.
So you talked about being in Novi for a long time now, but you spent most of it as the assistant, and then you went through an interim period before taking the city manager job. Walk us through the decision and the transition to go from kind of what I would think is very stable environment in a role.
I can't
Very
do this
stable,
anymore.
unlike
stable.
your lion get up.
Oh my God, Victor's here. That's amazing. Hey, Victor.
I know, look at that. I feel so much lighter now. Oh, wow. Actually, I served two different terms as interim. So when I was assistant and serving with Clay, Clay is just a force to be reckoned with. He does everything. He is just everywhere, reading everything. And the first time that when Clay left and moved on and moved to Texas, I had to kind of look inward and say, do I want to go for the manager job? And at that point, I was like, I am not ready for that yet. And I served as the interim, and then they hired eventually Pete Auger, who was a great next boss to have to kind of, further support me in my journey. Similar to being in a small town, the department directors might have left or did leave during my assistant time. So I was also the interim finance director for a brief period of time. I was interim public works director, economic development kind of quasi director at some points as well. So I was learning a lot of the different roles throughout the years. So when Pete decided to move on, then I knew I was ready and I wanted to go for the jobs. But that was a good, 10 years, 11 years until I decided I'm ready for the gigs. We've had a very consistent leadership team. We've only had a few people that have left. That core group of us are still together. So I've worked with them a long time, been in the trenches, did a lot of great projects together. Having that cohesive group together for such a period of time was really kind of a reassuring and helpful team to kind of ease me into the big chair, if you will.
All right. So, Victor, I have a question. So you said the first time it happened, you said you knew you weren't ready. How did you know? Like, what was your thought process? How did you talk about it? Who did you reach out to? Like, how did you come to that choice?
Just knowing, and again, and I still admire Clay, and just knowing what he was just like the Tasmanian devil, just always moving around, just swirling around. But he was also making calls, texting all the time. And there was a time when I wasn't really involved in economic development. I sat down with a big property owner, and they mentioned a huge company name. It's Magna Seating. And then I really didn't know Magna at the time. And they're like, and the guy just like almost flew out of his shirt. You don't know who Magna is? And I was like, yeah, sorry, man. I've been doing this and this. I've been doing operations. I've been doing finance, HR, and integrated solutions, which is our IT and facilities. So that was my corner. And then there's a whole other thing of public works and public safety and economic development. I just knew that I just didn't have the confidence or the experience to be able to jump right in there and be able to oversee those individuals.
Okay, so real quick, what is Magna for the audience? For me, I don't know what it is. I'm not from Michigan. Tell me about it. What is it?
Actually, Magna Seating is just a huge corporation out of Canada, and they do a lot. We have a lot of. I mean, Detroit, as you know, we make cars. And when the downturn in the economy was, we were like, hey, we should diversify and we should do something else in the cars. And then after a while, we're like, no, we make cars. We make cars really well. So we do seating, the info stuff. It's impressive to go and you meet these companies that are in your city, and they have $1 billion revenue, and they're like, we make this widget, and it goes into the carburetor and does that. We make a couple billion a year, and a couple of these units a year. We make this much profit. We're like, you make this one little thing, and we do Toyota, we do Nissan, we do all the former big three. So, but yeah, Magna is one of the big corporations that does the seating, and they have all the different seating components. So, we have a couple of those different companies in Novi that do just seating, and we have infotainment, they call it now, which is Harman Kardon, which is a Samsung subsidiary. So we have a lot of those great companies that are good stakeholders here in the city.
So you talked about doing a stint as acting finance director at one point. Aren't you currently looking for a finance director? And if that's true, like, what's your pitch? Why should someone want to come work with you and your team?
Well, thank you, Corey. So yeah, we are currently looking for a finance director, and we are AAA bond rated. We have almost no debt, but we just went out for a $120 million bond initiative to pay for some new fire stations and police stations. So we're going to be taking on new debt, but we're financially sound. We have a dedicated capital improvement millage that's going to be looked and be renewed next year. We have building new fire station and police stations. We have healthy fund balance. So lots of different initiatives that we're looking at. We have a great staff, oversee treasury and finance, and we're looking for someone with a lot of investment, because we have a lot of investment dollars that we're putting into the market. So trying to figure out how to get the most interest. So all those things, I think, are things that people will hopefully be interested in, and we're looking forward to seeing the best people that are out there in Novi, Michigan, which has some of the fantastic schools in all of Michigan.
So part of picking a good finance director and kind of the community stability really is about economic development. You talked about that a little bit, but those two things go hand in hand, right? You don't get a AAA bond rating without having a vibrant community. So talk to us more about what's going on in Novi.
I really wish I had Phil's state legislature and the framework where I can capture sales tax, because we have the biggest mall. We have all these fantastic. We have a lot of great shopping amenities. We have some huge companies, like I mentioned earlier. We have a huge Japanese population that has been here since the 70s, and they keep on growing every year. So we're looking at a lot of cool stuff. We're looking at establishing a new sister city relationship over in Japan. I'm heading out there next week. We have that new bond that was just passed a couple weeks ago by our voters. So we're looking at building a new fire station, and Fire Station 1 and Police Station, and then 2 new fire stations, and then improving our Fire Station 4. So yeah, those are just a few of the things that are going on, trying to attract new businesses here, and trying to play in that sphere in terms of North American headquarters. We have a few of those, trying to get some more. We have just a few more parcels that that are left to kind of meet that niche. So trying to market ourselves to that world of North American headquarters, because people are really looking forward to getting back into the office nowadays. So trying to make that pitch is a bit harder. So yeah, those are just a few of the things that we're looking at. Again, trying just to continue our healthy fund balance, and looking at maintaining a strong culture for our employees to work within is huge. So all of that while improving our infrastructure. It's never a dull moment. That's why I love this profession that we're in, because every day is different. You could be talking about to a developer one day, a potential business the next day, a resident another day, council members every day. So it's always a good time.
Victor, how large is your organization?
We have about 260 full-time employees, 260, about in between that 270. Another about 100 and some odd part-time employees. We have a combination fire department. We have full-time during the day, part-time at night, and then during the summer we bring up a lot of other part-time help, seasonal help, the supplement as well. So we have City Hall, Public Works is at a different facility. We're building the new public safety across from the Public Works, and then those four fire stations. So there's lots of stuff going on. So when I say 260, 270, all of them are City Hall. We have the fire station, obviously the police station, the fire stations, and Public Works. So we're kind of separated a lot. So a lot of attention is thought to of how to bring everyone together. how to bring everyone to kind of meet other people from other departments. For me myself, I don't like being in the office all the time, trying to get out to those offices and talking to people and just being seen out there.
So I think one of the transition roles that's complicated from being the deputy or the assistant and then becoming the manager is that maybe you established relationships as the assistant that are hard to maintain as the manager or hard to maintain in the same way as the manager. What was that transition like for you?
Hey, Sable, you gotta be taking notes because Phil has got some. He's doing his homework. I'm really impressed by this. Yeah. So you had those relationships as the assistant, as maybe I was the buffer between me and the manager. So people would come talk to me, kind of hash things out, maybe entrusted me. And then all of a sudden, once you move down the hall, one office or two offices to the managers, those people don't come down to the office sometimes. Sometimes so I was able to hire an awesome assistant, and now they have those conversations with her. So it's just kind of weird. I'm the same. I feel like I'm the same person. I haven't changed, but now those conversations are happening in other offices instead of in mine. So it's kind of taken a little bit of a change, and but I try to keep an open door and open line of communication. I don't want everyone to come to kiss the ring in my office. I like to go to their offices and meet them where they're at. But it is different. It's kind of weird. So it's all of a sudden those conversations were happen all the time, but now I got to seek them out and kind of reassure them that I'm still the same person. I want to have those conversations. Let's have at it. Don't be afraid.
So it's Victor. In my previous position before I came to Glencoe, I was the assistant village manager in Northbrook, which is a community next door, and I was the assistant for the manager who had been the assistant for 20 years. And it was a really interesting role for me to step in where this manager, who I think the world of and who was amazing at building relationships, I struggled to try to find my footing. And one of the most important things that he did for me was to kind of say, all right, you're not me. You're never going to be me, and you can't replicate me. You have to be your own assistant village manager because it's just not going to work otherwise. How have you kind of managed having an assistant and helping them to kind of not be you? You know what I'm saying?
That's huge, and allowing them, because again, I was assistant for 11, 12 years, so looking back and knowing what I didn't know then was huge. And as my assistant has come in, and she might have gotten frustrated in how we do things and where information is being stored and whatnot. So it's allowing her to make that growth and maybe those stumbles and saying, and not always being like, if she's going to have that conversation with someone, I'm like, good luck with that. Let me know how that goes. And then we'll have that conversation afterwards. So
yeah.
Because learning, knowing is half the battle. So once you go through that process and you learn have those experiences, then you get those lessons learned, and then you get those experiences under your belt, and then you're a better manager, a better assistant for that. So, and again, I'm trying to, like your predecessor, preparing you for those roles. So again, giving those opportunities for them to maybe fail or maybe stumble. So, but let them do it their way and not my way, because Lord knows she is a hell of a lot better than I am in front of people and more articulate than I am. It just finds the most poignant words at the right time. And that's who I am. You guys know that I'm not the most eloquent person out there. So, letting her do that and let me take the backseat on that. So it's just finding that different groove that, I might've had with the managers before me. And then now we have a different dichotomy. So it's, getting into that groove, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to work at it and just gotta, learn each other's, strengths and weaknesses. And then that, evolves over time.
All right. So Victor, we know you're not a great public speaker. That's why you're on the podcast. So we can help you work through this. And Phil prepped a lot of questions, which I appreciate. And so the questions are not that complicated. So, I've always been a believer that, right, a good assistant pushes the manager in situations. And so, two-part question. So where's a situation where you pushed previous manager, and where's some situation where your current assistant pushes you to be better or to be different?
So I think obviously I think COVID was definitely a different time. So yeah, my manager at the time, Pete, we were definitely dealing with a lot of stuff. So there was some situations that were happening that I was asking some questions, and we were having some very tough conversations during those times. So I think it was healthy for us, and we got through it. And I think we're a better organization because of it. And again, my assistant now, forces me to step out of my comfort zone sometimes, and really leads me and directs me in ways I need to go. I think actually we're having a Diwali festival in a few weeks, and I think I'm doing a dance for that. So not what I really was going to choose, but she's like, "Hey, we need some people, and I think you would be great at that." And pretty much like I think she's like, pretty much like you're doing that. So yeah, it's gonna be great. So, but yeah, that's just one of those examples of leading me to where I need to be out there. Apparently, doing a Diwali dance. So look for that in the YouTube world in the near future.
Victor, I was once brought in to be a dancer for a solstice celebration. And so I did an ancient druid dance. So I'll tell you, if I can do that, you can do anything. It's all good.
So what year was that? Can I look that up now? Is that on the interwebs?
No idea. I can't remember. I do not recall.
Phil's got some singing at Augustana that he's promised we would get to review.
Not today. I have a frog in my throat.
When he found
you want me to show you the video? Okay,
the video.
Gotcha.
We want the receipts.
Even better.
But I feel like, you acknowledged you were in theater as a kid, so I feel like
no
you're
singing.
fair game.
There were no musicals that I was a part of, for sure. There's no tone anywhere.
But you're dancing, not singing.
That's right.
So see, Phil can sing, you can dance. Everything's
There were
great.
no-
Mike and I will just watch.
Yeah, there were no dances either. But one of my first times in Japan, I did win the Japanese dance competition that I was a part of in Tokushima.
What?
I know.
What did you win? Did they like put you up on the screen or something?
There was no screen, but I got a picture with the flag. I didn't get to keep the flag, but yeah. So it was quite the thing, and it wasn't really a difficult dance. I just was very into it. It's been a long day. Had a few sakes in me, so it was a good time.
So you've mentioned Japan a couple of times. So you obviously have a really good relationship internationally. I understand that you have some Korean firms that also work in Novi. Tell us about some of the more exotic places you've been and any travel tips that you have for city managers going overseas.
That's one thing that I love to explain to people that are kids these days that are interested in the profession. It's we're not just here in the United States. We're not just stuck in Iowa or Florida or whatever. There are so many great opportunities to interact with our colleagues and our contemporaries across the world. So, again, my mentor, Mark Weber, he was on the board. They went down to Mexico. My dad was from Mexico, so I've always had a connection to Latin America. So I've been always wanting to get down. I learned about those stories, and then I was very involved in the international committee as the first manager Clay Pearson was. So been able to go over to Sweden and Denmark. The Scandinavian countries are fantastic, and we've been able to host Swedish study groups from city managers from Sweden in Novi for several years, and that's been great to establish those relationships. Went down to the international committee meeting in New Zealand, and I didn't have a long time to stay in New Zealand, so I was only there for like 4, maybe 5 days. That's a long trip to fly to New Zealand and back. So, but it was great to get there. And every time you're on these trips, you build these relationships with other managers from across the country and across the globe. So New Zealand's a great place to visit. I've been on the South Island, want to go to the North Island. Been to Romania. So I have a very interesting background for my ancestry. My dad was from Mexico. My mom was born here in Detroit, but her family's from Romania. And we had a meeting in Romania. So my wife and I were able to go to Romania, visit where my family was from. At the time, that's where I thought they were from. But then once I got into my mom's stuff at the house, I was like, I realized there's another city that we're sending money to back in the 30s that, oh, I could have visited that city, but whatever. So been Romania, and then been to the Philippines from one of our international board meetings. And then part of our ICMA's back in the day when we had USAID, I went to Puerto Rico to help assess after the hurricanes went through. So we did assessments around the island in terms of meeting with cities in terms of what they were needing, what their damage assessments were, and working. It was in connection with FEMA to just kind of see what they're looking for. So I've been very fortunate to get out there. So my favorite city though that I've been to that I studied abroad in college is London. I can't get enough of London. I'm Anglophile at heart. I love everything about the English culture. Every Saturday and Sunday and some Mondays I'm watching English Premier League. So I can't get there enough. So I would encourage everyone to get to the British Isles when you get a chance.
So a lot of that was connected to ICMA and the International Committee, which you served on for many, many years. But you have also been a board member, which is how I met you. And ultimately, you, Mike, and I shared a year on the board together. Talk to us about the decision.
One long year.
It's because you were on membership and we were on finance. It was great. Talk to us about kind of what it was like through your board service years, because you started, and I told Phil not to touch this because you would get very upset about it.
She
but
did.
You started.
She did.
You started during COVID, and that was a little bit sensitive about how you guys got onboarded and whatnot, but it was COVID. So talk about kind of being on the board through that transition. There was a lot going on.
Do we have to? I mean, way to reopen that wound.
Only the good stuff.
So yeah. So this right here was that first year. It was just sitting in front of a screen for hours and hours on end. And some members of the board, they get together at first, for their class, and they go to DC, the former HQ, and they kind of meet each other. No. We got to sit at my kitchen table with other people from across the country, and for a whole weekend, just sit at my table and just heard Death by PowerPoint, and it was kind of like, great, okay, this is hour 6 of this onboarding and orientation. So, there was I made some great relationships in my class. We have one class member that I've still never met. She's from Alaska and just was never able to make the trip during any of our meetings. So it was different. There was one meeting, a board meeting that was all online, and we were going down to Disney World, and my wife hated this time because we left Atlanta. And we went from Atlanta all the way into Florida for like 8 hours, and the kids are on their devices. I'm listening to I'm on the call, and she's just driving. And I don't think she can listen to the radio. She just hated that 8 hours. So yeah, that was a lot of it. Just a lot of Zoom time. I had in my kitchen. My wife has a sign that says kitchen, and people are always like, "What room are you in?" It's like, yeah, the kitchen guys. And that was like the ongoing joke. And there was a lot of stop starts. So we were like, hey, the world's going to open up. We're going to have a meeting now. We're all going to meet each other. And then, oh, never mind. We're not. We're going to cancel all the plans. We're like, okay. And I remember part of my my ICMA service, I was appointed to the CAPRA board, which is the accreditation for Parks and Rec. And we were doing a meeting in DC. And at the end of the meeting with my other board members, they're like, hey, we're calling on all the CAPRA visitors and coming. I was like, oh, this is getting real. That's like right when the world was shutting down. I was coming back to from DC, and that was it. So it was quite the journey, to say the least.
So I'm going to ask this question of the three of you because you each have had this experience, and we've talked a little bit about what it's like to serve an association as complex, large as ICMA, and you've all served it kind of in an overlapping time frame, but also at different times, right? Each of your experiences is somewhat different than the other. What was each of your and Mike, you're just you're working toward the end of your service. What's your takeaway as to the best part and maybe the most complicated part of being in a service role like that while you're also working in a exceptionally complicated position, very difficult job? How do you? What are those takeaways, good and bad?
So we have to go in reverse order. So Victor, you've got to go first.
I've been talking this whole time. What are you talking about?
You're the guest. It's literally why it's why we invited you.
I was waiting to see what you're going to say until I say something. So you're looking for a complicated,
best and most complicated.
Best and most complicated. Obviously, COVID was big. The COVID, George Floyd, those instances were huge because I never realized how just like the rest of the country is, ICMA is equally as segregated, and we have people from all across the country, all over the world. So just working through those tough conversations and those differing of opinions, those were very tough meetings to have, and people's emotions are right, front and center. The best times, finally when I got to meet everyone in person, those were really kind of just experiencing and building those relationships with everyone, and getting to meet my colleagues that I was online with for hours and hours on end, but meeting them in person. So actually, our first board meeting together was in Chicago, and that was it was great. And getting to meet their extended families was fantastic. So I guess constantly building those relationships, building those networks was really what I really cherish.
I took away that Chicago was the best part of your service, right? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Again,
Thanks,
my in-laws are from my wife's from Northwest Indiana, so there's a lot of Chicago in our lives.
Very good. Very good.
So I think the first time I met Victor was in Portland at the conference. So our kind of first meeting as we rolled onto the board. And that was a really interesting conference because I remember there were a lot of start and stops about the daily testing, and, Portland was a little different than at least the state I'm from. We were like back open, life as normal by then. And so that was kind of interesting. I think for me, knowing that there are all of these professionals across the country and the globe that care so much about the communities they serve. And I think some of the harder conversations we had coming out of COVID were these legacy leadership programs. And I know you guys all have experiences with those, about how important these cohorts that get developed in this profession are. And the board is like its own cohort. And I think one of the challenging parts was to not become one of your elected officials. So it's a 21-person board. There are 21 big personalities because you don't get through the entire process without really fighting your way through it and wanting that chair. And then finding your voice and those moments in time that you want to kind of exert influence, and the other times where you're like, nah, that's not going to be the battle I want to fight today. And I think that was the first time, because in a local community, you can be in the chamber board, you can be in all these other environments, but you're really wearing your city manager hat when you're in those environments. When you get to the ICMA board, you're there because of your profession, but you actually have to take that hat off, and you're now a steward of the organization. And it's very different. And I just remember sitting back and watching, and, being able to follow Molly and then Victor. I was super blessed to have such great mentors in the Midwest to be partnered with. But that it's a lot of big feelings around the table.
All right, so I will say I had a totally different experience than Victor had, and this is not like this is what happens 2 years later. So when our class got together, we got to go to DC. We didn't go to the headquarters because they wouldn't let us in the building because they didn't use it. So we got to go into a hotel conference room. And Jesse Bond from Mercer Island, Washington, was remote, but we got to be in person, and you could instantly tell that we just really liked and respected each other as a class. And so for us, I think my biggest sort of takeaway of success is we talk to each other every single month and sometimes every 2 weeks for probably the first 6 months. Because you're right, Corey described sort of 21 members and big personalities. And I remember the first board meeting that you get to watch, and we're thinking, "Oh my God, what are they doing? This is chaos. Like, is this really how it happens?" And so we really got ourselves organized, and said, "You know what? We're gonna work to make this better." And so we really committed as a board class to be united, to work together, to kind of after committee meetings, we would talk and we'd kind of strategize about what to do. And we built coalitions. And so you start to pick up conversations, and, you all of a sudden 6 voices become 7, 7 voices become 8. And you started to kind of build this momentum around, ultimately, like, we want to see a different direction in ICMA, and I think we were able to navigate a lot of those things pretty successfully. I think they both described sort of this opportunity to be together and in person was really hugely impactful. I think one of the things that I would say is potentially some frustrating parts is, you go to these other Midwest states, and a lot of times, like I remember, you might not know more than 5 people in the room, but you have to go speak on behalf of the association, and that can feel a little bit intimidating. But the beauty of this profession is, you go in, you're maybe a little nervous, and you walk out with 10 friends, and so and in a lot of cases, even more than that. So, I have one half of one meeting left, and so Friday in where are we going again? Tampa. Beautiful Tampa. We'll see you in Florida. But yeah, that's my last official action as a board member. But yeah, it's an amazing 3 years, and as I say to everybody who asks, it's worth doing. Shout out to Jeff Weckbach. I gave up working as a Midwest VP about 3 months ago, and he's been doing an amazing job carrying my weight and carrying me through. So shout out to Jeff. Really
3 months
appreciate
ago,
you.
really? 3 months ago?
4, 5. No, yeah.
I mean, when you were appointed, I was done. I was like, "This, I'm."
That actually happened.
It did. I was in senioritis for sure.
It's interesting. I think, one of the struggles, I think, for the non-board member who is just a regular ICMA member is to kind of understand that this is service. When you talk about an association, whether it's at the state level, whether it's the international association, is a complicated thing. It requires a lot. It requires time. It requires a commitment. I think, Corey, your statement about kind of taking off that city manager hat when you sit down with your colleagues to say, "Look, I'm not me right now. I am a representative of a profession," is a really poignant way of talking about service. And I think it's a misunderstood part of what goes on with respect to the things that each of you have provided to the association in terms of your guidance, in terms of your talents, and saying, "Look, I'm not in this for me. There's no sudden benefit that you derive from being a member of the board. There's a lot of decision making. There's a lot of things you can step into and find yourself in a bit of a quandary of what the hell do we do next." And there's a lot of leadership that comes from it. And I just think it's when we talk about the opportunity and we talk about the necessity of service to this profession, this thing that we care so much about. It just speaks to the character of each of the three of you that you brought yourselves. Those were great stories. Thank you for sharing all of them.
Hey, I liken it to, like, your city council member that you work with, but then they also serve on the HOA board. So it's like they're doing everything for the city, but then they're on their neighborhood and they're getting yelled at their neighbor about someone's grass or their basketball hoop, and it's kind of like they're dealing with all this stuff on this macro level, but then they get the micro HOA level. So but they're just there to help out their community, either be it their subdivision or their overall city. So it's very similar, like you said, in terms of the state service, international, and the national service. It's all the same, and it's we need people to step up to the plate and be able to give their time if they're able to, because it's a huge commitment, no matter what, be it the local, state, or national.
So I have a lot of favorite Victor memories. So many.
Okay, it was great. It was great talking to everyone. I appreciate your time.
But no. And I would never do that to you. But many of my favorite ones, actually with both you and Mike, are your fashion. So, Victor, you are known in not just our circle, but I suspect many circles in your life for your golf fashion. And fortunately, I was too lazy to go find some of those pictures, so I'm not going to edit them in. But talk to us about why. Why?
So I was a goalie in high school, and actually after that as well, I've been playing soccer pretty much my whole life. Because being a son of a Mexican immigrant, you can play one sport in life, soccer. So there was a Mexican goalkeeper named Jorge Campos during the 90s, and he had these very flamboyant outfits, and he had a saying: when you look good, you play good. And I can't play good golf, so I mean I'm getting better, but in the golf course we're all struggling. So I don't know, I got some crazy outfits here and there. But then when you have a mother-in-law that's like, I don't know what to get this guy. So she just kept on buying me more of these outfits. So there's a couple websites you go out to. So, I mean, I bought my own outfits. She actually made me an outfit one time. So, and then I've just been acquiring more and more of them as we go on. So it's kind of like the whole Payne Stewart look. Kind of meets John Daly. I've evolved into whatever team I'm on. We get the same matching outfits. Look for pictures this week for the Benevolent Fund, the Novi Police and Fire Benevolent Fund. There'll be matching shirts. So yeah, it's just a thing to do. It's just to have fun. And now it's an expectation when I show up to these events. They're like, "Oh, what's Victor gonna wear?" And I'm like, I gotta prepare. So yeah, so it's a thing. It's a thing. But yeah, a lot of it's brought upon myself from what I wanted to wear, and then my mother-in-law starts buying me more of the outfits. So it's kind of evolved from that.
Corey and I feel very similarly about Mike and the podcast and what he's going to wear, and is he going to bring it or not. And he's consistent, if nothing else. I'll just say it that way.
So I've shout out to the a little preview for the listeners. So Victor and Corey and I actually have a presentation at the ICMA conference. We're going to be talking about Corey's research, which we've referenced on earlier episodes, which you should go back and listen to if you haven't done that. But Victor has already been sending me outfit choices for the day. So be very afraid. It could be very flamboyant. It's a little disappointing that Sheen is getting a little bit more expensive because we don't go for quality. We go for a lot of flair. It's not gonna last, but it's gonna look amazing.
And speaking of flair, I was a huge Ric Flair fan back in the old days, so that's what also kind of brought out the flamboyant attire and whatnot. So
okay, so
we should
also,
do that.
Speaking of attire, you have since changed outfits in the middle of this podcast. This is not a different day. This is not anything else.
What?
What is the significance of the all black, the Lions? Is this the tough guy outfit? What is this?
Well, I believe this is I'm not sure if this is our Motor City attire or not. So just like everyone's trying to replicate soccer, they're trying to get these alternate jerseys. So this is our Motor City apparel. I think there's a Motor City on the back or somewhere on it. So yeah, this is like the Bears and the Lions. We don't really. The Bears have a lot more alternate jersey. They had the orange for a while. So this is our first attempt of doing something different than the traditional white or blue. So now we have the black jersey, which the kids love. They have black helmets too. So yeah. So I don't wear these kind of flat kind of brim hat. This is my my son's hat. So, but yeah. So I've also, if you guys need any jerseys, I have people across the world that I can acquire jerseys from. So you let me know, and I can hook you up. Completely legit, all in the up and up. Trust me, IRS.
There is nothing surprising about you being like, I got a guy. Nothing.
Got multiple.
It is nice to have a guest that changes their outfit for during the duration of the podcast. It brings in more viewership.
It's like a Beyonce concert with like 3 wardrobe changes. This is amazing.
Exactly the same.
This is another idea for the session. This is another idea for the session. We should like just go out while Corey's going through the thing. We come out another evening attire, and I like it.
Well, only if Mike's gonna have a blooming bow tie again.
I'm thinking since we're in Florida, a little Crockett and Tubbs kind of vibe. I like it. Miami Vice.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I think so. Yeah,
I'm supportive.
Love it.
Well, good, because you're part of it as our session host.
I just have to be there for the beginning. That's all I know.
So I'm intrigued. This is not in the script. So you've talked about your wardrobe. Who has more closet space, you or your wife?
Ooh, I think she would probably, yeah. I think it's equal. I think it's equal. I think it's equal. I have a lot more alternative storage space downstairs for jerseys and whatnot. The golf attire goes away during the winter months, so I take a lot more of the bin space after the fact. But I think the closet space, there's I think it's the equal amount. I would say that. She might disagree. Oh, she is definitely shaking her head, but she has no say in this conversation right now, so she's definitely has more than.
I can text her. We can rope her in. That's
I have no doubt. You, yeah.
Here to help.
She's yelling from the side. Nice. Which is the joy about serving on these committees and these boards. You get to meet each other's spouses and turn them against you. I see how it is.
So, Victor, you referenced your Mexican heritage, right? The Mexican goalie, the flamboyant piece. I know that you're part of LGHN, which is just the acronym for Local Government Hispanic Network. Tell me a little bit how you got started in that, and what advice do you give to somebody that's new in the profession that wants to be a little bit more engaged? Give them some tips.
Just like anything else, is really kind of raising your hand and just looking to serve on committees. Or we also have a conference. I would say that when I was younger, I was like, I would go to the ICMA conference or go to my state conference. At the time, back when I was younger, it was IHN. Now it's LGHN. The sessions were not that robust, but I was a liaison for the board, and I started going to more and more conferences, and I was just blown away at the level of sessions that were being presented. We're also, again, getting back to the international field. We're trying to build relationships with our friends and colleagues in Latin America and Puerto Rico. So there's conferences that they're going on there. There was just a conference just the other week that some of our colleagues from San Antonio and from ICMA were going to Experiencia Puerto Rico. So by the way, I hate when people start turning on the accent. I used to hate that when I was younger. Now I'm trying to speak Spanish better. So I'm that guy now. So yeah, it's really, if you are looking to just get involved with if you're from a Latin American descent or not, and just want to go to experience different kind of sessions. Usually, the last couple of conferences were in Phoenix. I think next one's going to be in the Denver area, I believe in April of 26. So they're fantastic sessions. So I really encourage anyone that's looking to get involved and have a different kind of conference experience to really check those out. So the LGHN, they have webinars on a monthly basis as well. So those are also fantastic opportunities to get involved and hear what our membership around the country is doing.
Victor, you've mentioned a couple of places internationally that you've been. I mean, there was a lot of them, right? You've been in Nordic countries. You've been in New Zealand. You've been all over the world. What's the thread between those places? What makes cities sort of that universal component?
One thing that I found, and no matter what, we're all doing the same kind of thing. We're all looking at public safety. We're all looking at sound infrastructure. We're looking at safe water. We're looking at making sure that the water that goes down the toilet goes in a place that needs to be treated somewhere. So it's all those same kind of things that we're all dealing with. We're all dealing with trying to make placemaking, try to build cultures in our respective organizations. So those, no matter what country, what language you're speaking, we're all dealing with the same kind of challenges, and those are great lessons to learn. I love the public engagement and the way they get community involvement in New Zealand and in Australia. I look at that stuff all the time. Those are great, case studies you can glean from. Same thing in Scandinavia. There's some awesome way they do look at design and how the park benches are, and their use of that kind of darker wood, was in all their buildings and their apartments. And then 5 years later, that was in all of our developments. I started seeing that in Chicago at first, and then I started seeing in Minneapolis, then Detroit, then Iowa later. Sorry. So I mean, it transcends borders. So and languages. There's some great examples out there, but we're also, at the end of the day, we're also just trying to run our cities as efficient as possible and as resilient as possible.
I think there's sometimes the question of why a focus on international, right? What's the benefit of understanding what's going on in Europe or South America or elsewhere in the world? And I think what you just pointed to is it doesn't really matter where you are in the world. We're all kind of trying to do the same thing, and finding the opportunity to learn from one another, to say, maybe that city in Sweden knows something that we don't about the same issue that we're going through. And isn't it cool to be able to take something back and say, yeah, this is going to help us. This is going to make our community better. This is going to help our residents. This is important. It's I think just perhaps an under or a misunderstood component of why ICMA is international city county management.
100% agree. 100% agree. Because there's and the best thing now is with technology, we can connect with, we can Zoom with people, we can build relationships and have those real time conversations and sharing of best practices. So it's really yes, technology has been a bad thing in some regards, but a great thing in terms of getting those best practices out there.
All right, so I got a question. So Victor, you've listened to the podcast maybe once before, maybe twice. I hope half a time, half a show.
Loyal listener, loyal subscriber.
First time
click like. Please buy items from the Amazon store if you guys have them. You get all of your wares.
Well, now we've got to have to make wares and sell them somewhere.
Shoot. Okay.
We missed that part. But what's a question that you have for us?
Wow. That's a great question yet again.
I know. I appreciate that. It wasn't that hard.
Mike is poignant tonight. Truly.
I've got one or two things that I've said that actually make sense. So
to bring it back home to the NFC North, who's gonna take it home this year? Who's gonna come out on top? Who's gonna win the division?
So as much as I would love to say the Packers, and I think they're gonna be good, I will say I do love watching the Lions. I love your coach. There's something magical about that stadium, and I like a good Cinderella story. So I hope you can take it further than you have.
You and everyone else in the Tri-County area.
I won't be sad if the Packers beat you in week 1. How's that?
Oh,
ooh, all right.
The Bears are we love our Bears here in Chicago, and I have every hope that this is a rebuilding year. We have some opportunity ahead of us. I'm not seeing taking the division, but we're gonna build. We're gonna build. That's what we're gonna do.
You have a great coach. He's going to take you there for sure.
We do. We do.
Next year.
Or the year after, one of those years.
One of those years out there. So I struggled to answer this question because I stopped watching the Minnesota Vikings after 1998. Yes, I'm that old. Like, the heartbreak is real. And so actually I do watch the games, but I actually I sort of root for the disaster. Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we have this team, it's got loaded with talent at all of these key positions, except we're starting a guy that's never thrown a pass. And so usually you want somebody that's had a little bit of experience, a little bit of opportunity to grow into the role. And so it's a crapshoot. So it's either going to be amazing or it's going to be terrible, or it'll be in the middle. And I'm going to be up for any of it as it comes out. So I actually think the Lions are probably the best team. And I do. I root for the underdog. I always love the story. The first time you guys won a playoff game, they pan to the crowd and there's a grown man sobbing on the screen. Like, that tugs at my heartstrings, and I love that. So I'd like to see just a little bit more crying in Detroit.
You heard it, folks. Mike Sable has a heart.
It's very, very small.
It grows 3 sizes at Christmas time. I promise.
I have no doubt. JJ is going to be a work in progress. So yes, he's a Michigan guy, and he did win a national championship. So he's got, but he didn't throw a lot. So we'll see. We'll be curious to see how the Minnesota designs their offense around him. But you guys you were neck and neck with us all season last year. So thank you for following the NFC North podcast. Next week we'll be talking about the depth charts.
I did ask, and Mike and Corey and I had a little back and forth this week about, the veracity of AI platforms. But I did ask the updated ChatGPT 5 who it's predicted and
before you tell us, ChatGPT 5 struggled, so I'm going to guess it picked the Cincinnati Bengals.
I did have to redirect it a few times.
Yes, of course. Sorry.
It does believe that the Detroit Lions are the strong favorite to take the division. Almost guaranteed is what it says here, according to my almost guaranteed or almost certainly. So either way, lots of strength in that statement.
This guy's got to stay healthy, so that's huge. Hutchinson's got to stay healthy for the rest of the team. That's what hurt us at the end. It was all the injuries.
For what it's worth, the Chicago Bears are listed here as least likely or long shot. Story of my life.
Wow. Again, except for 85, the best team, blah, blah, blah.
Except for 85, that is legit 40 years ago, man. 40 years ago.
Lions have never even sniffed the Super Bowl. Never even close.
Oh, I did ask. Hold on. I asked if the Bears were going to win the Super Bowl. The outlook is not strong. Not strong.
Is that? Did you look at did you ask a magic 8-ball?
That's what I was wondering. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Similar language. Yes.
Okay.
Fair point.
Perfect.
Fair
Perfect.
Point.
All right. So Corey, we have officially spiraled out of control. You got to bring us home.
I don't.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for this week's podcast. I really appreciate your time. Mike, Phil, Corey, you've been great hosts. I really appreciate. Oh, this is not my podcast. Oh, never mind. So
yeah,
you're really doing well.
You're doing great. So in all seriousness, we want to give you the last word. You've been a terrific guest and a terrific voice and a terrific colleague to serve with. But so yeah, the floor is yours. What wrap us up, Victor.
Well, I really commend you guys for starting this initiative. I think it's a cool idea, and I enjoy listening to you guys. I enjoy clicking the like button, subscribe button on both YouTube and podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. So yeah, I really wish you guys luck in this endeavor and keep on getting better guests than me, more exciting, more interesting guests. So I think your rating can only go up from here. That's for sure. But thanks for having me on. This has been fun. Anytime I get to interact with you guys, it's a good time. Please check us out in Tampa. It's going to be a time. I'm not sure if it's going to be a good time or an interesting time, but it will be something to behold.
It will be memorable.
It'll
It'll be
memorable.
the best. It'll be the best way to start your Monday morning.
Yes, that's what everyone wants to be in the session first thing in the morning.
So, Victor, Mike was my hype man last conference in Pittsburgh for my dissertation research. And so he got a custom t-shirt. So I think you might get a best hype man ever t-shirt because
Yes,
you did better than all of us collectively over what is
That's
now 8 episodes in actually saying, hey, like the podcast. And so thank you for being an extraordinary hype man, a great colleague, a fantastic guest. And we can't wait to see you in person in Tampa with whatever wardrobe you're bringing.
Game on. Let's do this. Thank you, guys. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Victor.
Go Lions!